Scrap Masters, it is week 21, so you know it's going to be fun, randomly generating our way to another super cool quilt block via dice and a color wheel. Are you ready? Let's get started. Well, welcome back to So Well with Rob Appell, Scrap Master Weekly Friday. This is super exciting. Yes, week number 21. Another re-scramble of the blocks. Here was last week, and you can see it actually mixed in very nicely. I was concerned it was going to be too light, but no problem there. I like the way this one's rearranged, but of course we know this won't be the final arrangement because we're going to make another block today. If you're new to the show, welcome, welcome. If it's Friday and you're watching between 2 p.m. and 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, join us along for the chat. Let us know who you are, where you're coming from, what kind of quilts you prefer to make. I'm sure not all of us are scrap quilters. I certainly wasn't. I actually didn't care for scrap quilts until I got hooked on making these random blocks so that I would know what to sew when I didn't know what to sew on. And now I'm just hooked making at least a block a week. Many of you are making many more of those. Thank you to Block Mark out there for participating. Series 1, free pattern in the download below over on my website, robappell.com. Make sure you're subscribed here at YouTube So Well. But yes, 35 blocks, multicolor scraps using primarily tonals and solids, right, on this one. And now on series 2, for my personal choice, I've tried to integrate and mix in my low volume neutrals. Groundworks, we're just a few days away from having those available on the website for all of you to purchase my fabrics at robappell.com. Really exciting as I continue to branch out with my newfound freedom and independence. Loving being able to support so many different quilting venues out there in the future, right here with our awesome community. But I could talk all day, as you all know I often do. Let's roll and spin our way to an awesome block this week. Yes, still waiting for Fall Book to return my rotary cutter. You know I'm waiting on you, ladies. Penny, let's do this. Oh, block 1 again. Last week was block 1. I'll take it. There's no rules, but I'll take it. I know it was kind of a bumper bounce, but I still like it. Block 1, we'll do it. Color wheel, here we go. What color were we doing? Maybe we'll get something a little darker than last week. That'll be kind of fun. Oh, my favorite. The blue-green family. Emeralds, turquoises, joy. Okay, so we're definitely doing that. No problem. Let's get a big number. This will make it scrappier, 20-sided die. What are we doing here? No. 2 is a re-roll. And for those of you who didn't get to see block 1 last week, yes, here it is off the wall. This is what it could turn out like. I want to do a little bit more mixing, matching, scrambling. So let's hope for something bigger than a 2. 12. Bigger than last week, bigger than 2. I'll take it. So we're going to work with 12 fabrics. Let me put this back up on the wall here. Let me choose that low volume neutral from my emerald green, blue green family. So I'm going to choose this one here. Well, should I, folks? That's a little blue. We can also use this wonderful choice, which we really haven't used much of yet. Let's do that. Let's work from this today. This will be wonderful. Okay, so we'll just set those back over there by our golden tray of treasure. And we're going to now pick 12 fabrics. Let's mix and match a bunch of these into the background because I do love them so much in this blue-green emerald family. So I can use a little bit of my limey. Last week, we're going to get a return hit from there. I think that's the Tula Pink I found at the scrap bin at Granny's Attic at one of these. This is why I like going to Quilt Guild so much. They have fabric on discount and you just can kind of guess what you might find. It's pretty rad. Oh, this is going to be beautiful. So right now I'm still thinking about all of my background. I want it really mixed up this week. And I think because in those, we know that orange is going to pop across that there. And I really think, yeah, so this one fabric and this one fabric here can this week be where I mixed it up last week and used several of those for my darks and my mediums. We're going to use these as mediums. We're going to use these as darks this week. So that gives me 10 fabrics to choose from. From here, I'm at 4. So let's really have some fun in this blue, green, emerald family that I love so much. Oh, there was that. No rules as we dive in. There's 3, 6, 8, 10. Okay, I lied. I'm a filthy liar sometimes. 11 and 12. Okay, that's going to rock this block. Pretty dang cool. And now, if you'll remember, if you didn't see last week, and remember, even though these can feel kind of live, they are recorded videos. They are here on my channel, as well as a bunch of my greatest hits. Make sure you're watching all the videos, sharing with everybody where they can find yours truly, having a blast making quilt projects with all of you. So we're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the dark and light half square triangle combinations, right? And so I'm going to use 1 of those and 2 of these because I love it. It's getting lean, but we can still keep going. So there's those. And then I'll be able to use 1 of these and 2 of these as well. So now my theory is I want to mix up as many of these as possible, but we're going to kind of have a blue side and a green side to our design as we go through here. So let's integrate the blues there, or the greens there, the blues there. This is going to give us a lot of pop. We don't want to forget that. So let's go ahead and do those 3 combos. And these 3 combos for the half square triangles. But unlike where we did before, where everything became neutral in the background, I want a little bit more mixeroo here going. So let's also, if I remember, we need 24 of the background squares. So I see I've got 6 on the table here. So we could choose 2 of these from each pile. And those ones are already cut down to the 2.5, so I'm definitely going to use those. Okay, reorganize there. So preparing to cut off the bottom corners of these, trimming these to 2.5 squares from the 3s. I find that starting with 3-inch squares makes it really easy to work from as I'm building. There's the other ones I need there. Okay, now I will also need 12 here to build up to the rest of the 24 background squares we needed from last count. Probably best not to try to go any more than 6 in a pile for a fairly accurate cut. Super easy. And there we have it, folks. Again, I'm going to use my straight ruler for creating 2.5 by 2.5 inch squares. Trim these down, set them aside for as we get ready to do our designing today. This block 1 really is quick to construct. in comparison to some of the other ones that are a bit more of a brain tease to build out, as well as have a lot more half square triangles. So this is a good quick one to be working on. I will say right now though, if we land another block 1 next week, I am stopping. We're not doing 3 block 1s in a row. That would be just too much for even week 21 fun. Maybe I was going to say make some joke about forgetting that you even did what you did on week 21 because it was week 21. However, I'm way more proud of the fact that I'm a recovering alcoholic of 14 years. So I'm not going to make any alcohol jokes. We'll just joke about my recovery more often. Okay, let's go ahead and slide our edge guide out of the way. Move your edge guide foot off. Use either a pencil mark. We're going to make 2 at a time half square triangles here if you're new to this technique. I've also got some great videos in my playlist about making half square triangles. I use them all the time. Really is like the second unit in quilt making. I chain piece whenever possible, doing all the same steps, all at the same time. So we're going to go down one side of these before we trim them and go down the other side. So if you have a pencil mark, you're on the other side of that, doing another 1/4 inch. I'm going corner to corner with my tape and or watching parallel with the seam that was created prior. That also works real nice. So we're going to mow through the rest of these. Separate them again. And then just go ahead and use some straight edge to protect your hand. I'll often actually use the bottom edge of the slotted trimmer because from here then what I'll do is rotate, line up my dotted line. We're doing 2.5 inch square, half square triangles now. So a trim and a trim, and then I just manually dog ear. I struggle with these progressive glasses to get my cutter into that little slot that it's designed for. So I find it's just as easy, and the dog ear, it's nice to have it off of the half square triangle, but it's just as easy to do it manually because once they're trimmed, then you're going to go to the ironing board. And today we're going to press into our brighter colors just so that there's a consistency. So the fuchsias, the oranges, that's where I'm going away from my greens today. And I'll organize these also in piles so that I'm ready to come back here and design once all of the trimming and pressing is done. Yes, and I would like to take a moment to say thank you to and welcome to all of my new friends, especially those who I met out there in Oregon over the last few days. Hillsboro and Dayton, the quilt guilds in and around the areas, all of you fantastic. So wonderful to spend time quilting with all of you, telling my story and being encouraged by you and knowing that I was an inspiration. So that was super fun. Thank you very much for all of you who are part of that at all times in my life. If you have a quilt guild or quilt shop, an event you'd like me to come and be part of, please send me an email, rob@robappell.com. Make sure you're subscribed here on the channel so you always know what I'm up to and what's going on. And I'm going to start now laying out our chain block with these half square triangles, kind of like they're flying geese. We're going to use the orange to make sure that things stay somewhat randomized here as we go in one direction, getting the different pieces onto the different sides, so to speak. And then we'll do the same here as we bring the fuchsia this way. I think having one of these in the center is going to be really important. Yay. We only have the 2 fabric choices here, so I'll end up having to mix these a little bit. I see what I'll need to do, and that's just fine. I'll do this one here, split this one out there. I think I'm going to like the way that looks. Now, unlike the last time I did this block 1 where we used all of the same fabrics and all of the 2.5 inch squares, now what we want to do is we want to use these, and we're going to kind of randomize it a little bit, I want to say. So I'm going to kind of add one at first into each of the corners, but not in the same location on each one. See how that kind of offsets things a little bit. Then let's go ahead and drop ones around the center. As we move. And then we're also, now by watching these, we want to make sure that we can do things maybe where we can bring the fabrics that we're missing from certain areas in. Might be a lot for our eyes this week to just take in. So I'm just literally placing each piece individually now just to see what I think. I like it when my stripes go different directions. I always think that's fun. So how did we do here? Think this is going to work? Oh, good. Yeah, I do. I believe this is going to work. Want to kind of squint my eyes, take off my glasses, whatever I need to do. I'm kind of looking to see if there's any places that are too heavy, but they kind of duplicate themselves. And I really haven't lost my flow of my greens and turquoises and everything. I can still see the oranges and the fuchsias. So yeah, it's time to go ahead and lock down that 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now I just drop that in so I can see it marked out on the same tape I was using earlier. And I'm going to grab these and sew them block by block into rows, then iron the rows as you've seen me do before, so that each of those blocks are nested. I'll do all my pressing in one phase after this, all of this sewing is done here. Okay, and as I have finished putting on the last block into these rows, again, I'm just going to press to nest, and I'm going to go ahead and bring over my block to my pressing station, and I'm going to hold my fabric in the air and just kind of let the iron set each of those seams and then press it as it goes. And I move my iron across my body, right to left. And then I rotate every other row so that I've technically rotated the seams in every other row so that eventually they'll do like this, which we call nesting. And that makes it so that the seams just press real nice and easy without needing to use pins or clips or anything in some of these smaller unit style blocks. I just love doing it this way. You need to make sure that you don't forget to rotate. Right now I'm just watching the oranges and the pinks or the fuchsias play through. Once the rows are all pressed out, double check that your design has stayed correct, and then it's just back to business as usual with the old 1/4 inch presser foot. I'm kind of wiggling to make sure that that first nested seam lines up. Makes it really easy from here on out. Use my needle down occasionally to realign, recalibrate. Sometimes if you kind of lift the row as it enters the machine, it'll help that bottom seam keep from flopping over and getting caught. And then I always prefer to press at this point after each row is added on. And just keep grabbing rows and sewing them on. And block 21 will be done pretty quick. Hey folks, make sure that you are joining us on our Facebook group. So well, Rob Appell on Facebook. There are 3 questions I do need you to answer to make sure you're not some sort of weird bot or something. Keep our community clear, clean, safe, And then also, I'd love it if you would be posting your weekly blocks that you're creating. I absolutely love see what you're all working on, any of the quilts you're working on. They don't have to be anything I've created, of course. This is for all of us. This is where we come together. This is where we join in, just kind of like chatting on our premieres here on Friday. Of course, the videos are always up and remaining. If you haven't seen, I've been building out some great playlists. I've been reposting here on my personal channel, So Well Rob Appell, a bunch of the greatest hits of all times that I've created. So they'll all be in one great place, especially the workshop videos, traveling to so many locations, like I said earlier, spending so much time in person with the quilting community. But I only do workshops from video or from projects that I have videos for. So that way, if we get a little distracted in our quilting class, we can always return to the videos as well as pause them, slow them down, and do a little pre-work, little pre-class homework as well. So anyways, that's the big thing I'm really enjoying right now. And of course, updating the branding, playing with some fun new photos and thumbnails and all of that. I can tell you're all really liking it, making sure you're subscribing because it's really blowing up. Lots and lots of new friends here, and I appreciate that very much. Well, and here we have it, folks. I absolutely love my blue greens. Of course, you know it's one of my favorite families to work in. Lots of pop here in this block, but more random, more scrappy. Let's take a moment and compare it to the other block one we did recently. And you can see this one's a lot more calm, a lot more neutralized. But up in this quilt, remember, we don't know exactly how it's going to turn out. Each week we get a different color, a different block, a different numbers of fabrics. This was 11 fabrics. This was 12, but you can see how I used my numbers differently. More last time here in my half square triangles, this time moving those colors about in the blocks. They turned out pretty neat. I'm pretty excited and really blessed feeling that you were all here this week. Stay up there, stay up there. Super fun having you all here with me. Make sure you're doing something creative this week and let us know in that Facebook group what you have been up to in your sewing room. But it's so great to have all of you as part of our community out there. Folks, until I see you again, like I said, thank you for being here. Please stay well.